ladies and gents. Welcome to another episode of The Grit Theory. We are so glad you found us today.
This is John Mayo with Aaron Robinson, and we are thrilled that you are joining us as we explore how challenge and adversity can be changed into opportunity.
And don't forget, if you like what you hear today, please subscribe, share with your friends, and we love your comments.
So without further ado, let's jump right into another episode of The Grit Theory. All right. Hello, everyone. This is John Mayo, and as always, I'm joined with Aaron Robinson, my fellow co-host.
Hello.
Yeah, today's an exciting day because we get to focus on you.
Yeah, exciting. I feel it's weird because even though we're friends, I feel a little nervous right now. I don't know if it's because I'm bracing for impact from you, just knowing who you are, but we'll go for it. I don't care. I trust you.
You should be clenching. Just a little bit.
I just remember that thing you tell me. It just cracks me up when I said surprise to you one time, and you said, "Don't say that to me, Aaron." I said, "What do you mean?" Because when I hear surprise, I hear bam, 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 bam. Yeah. That's kind of what our friendship has been. I feel like, hey, Aaron, I got a surprise for you. Like, I'm gonna get pummeled by something. It's not gonna be a wonderful, nice thing.
And for a little bit more context on the bam, 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 bam.
Yeah,
that's like a gun, right?
Yeah.
Bang, and then I'm on the ground. It's like bang, 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 and you shouldn't me more.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's happening.
It's like this hilarious twist.
Like, that's John's mind. It's a little off, but
well, I did admit in episode 1 that I'm not well.
Yeah, that's true.
So there were so many openings I wanted to do with you. Like the one I really wanted to do for a long time was just ask how you became a silvering fox. Right? So many of my friends reach out and are like, "Who's that handsome dude you're working with? He's out of your league as a friend." Which I'm not even going to, I'll spare you the response to that.
All right.
But
please.
It's the perfect segue. Yesterday, you made public on social media that you need to pick better friends.
That's true.
Why?
Well, John, the reason why I got to pick better friends is because they make me uncomfortable. And so simultaneously, I have wonderful friends like yourself, and I have terrible friends because I don't get I don't know. There's less hedonism in my life than I want to have, you know? But I guess that's kind of that's the good tension that we need to put in our life. So I do appreciate it, but simultaneously it's aggravating. So that's where we're at. Yeah.
So let's pull on that a little bit more because I think some of the context of it is very true to what we want to look at here.
Yeah.
Right. Here we're exploring extraordinary, indomitable people, right? Waymakers. Mm-hmm. And you're one of them. You are an incredibly interesting human being. And we've kind of sparked this ongoing joke where when we do something truly horrible, you're like, I need to pick better friends. I don't know why I'm here right now. Right? And yesterday was one of those days.
Yep.
And I have a 2-part question for you. What did we do yesterday that inspired that? And why do you keep doing that?
Yeah. So as you know, John and I, one of the things we like to do is exercise. It's sort of like this, it kind of makes the metaphysical a physical reality. You know, what's kind of going on internally. It's like we're not really running. We're exercising a piece internally in us, right? So that's why we do it. It's not like, I don't think it's vanity. I don't think it's vanity. Although I don't like, being fat or anything, but I think it's more than that. It's like the mental acuity that comes from that, the meditation that comes from that. I think it's so powerful for the day. But yesterday, we brought it up a notch in that I woke up, and as I do, and I know we're going to go running, I looked at the temperature, and the temperature was at a resounding 0 degrees. There was not a degree,
not even one,
not 1 degree to warm me up. And then in addition, of course, there's the wind, and the
19 mile per hour.
Yeah, 19, and it carried a resounding negative, I guess, competing degrees in the 20 degree variety. So negative 20 wind. Yeah, that was really cold, and and everything in me didn't want to do it.
Well, and the clothing didn't help.
Yeah. You gave me some tips later.
Well, and then we got back to the gym.
Yeah.
And that wasn't much better.
No. It was so cold in there. Like to touch the metal for more than 10 seconds was encouraging frostbite through the gloves.
Yeah.
That's how cold it was. Yeah.
We quite literally needed to bring a propane bonfire in to just keep our hands warm between sets.
Yeah. So our triple set was, there was one workout, the second workout, and the third workout was warm hands over fire, and then repeat.
It was. And it's been interesting because since you and I have been working out more consistently, which has been about the last 6 months, especially as winters come, there seems to have been a shift that I think you were pulling on earlier about how it's not about the workout.
No.
It's about something it does more mentally.
Yeah.
And one of the things I notice from, as your friend is that at first it's like, John, what are we doing? Are you sure we should be doing this? Like there's 30-mile-per-hour winds and it's freezing and it's blowing snow. It's like, I know I'm not sure, Aaron, but let's do it anyways. And now I hear you use words like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, has that shifted into your day also? And what has that shift felt like and look like? And what it clearly is keeping you doing it. Why?
Yeah. John, you saying that, and I'm thinking of our listeners here, where at some point we got to realize the things that are difficult impact other people. Otherwise we'll stop doing it. Because personally, if I'm just serving myself and no one else is affected, it's really easy to quit on things. It's like I'm a bad personal accountability partner. But when I know that like someone else's encouragement is on the line, I think of like a first responder or something where it's like, look, I don't feel like doing this thing today, but that person, the person that I'm going to affect doesn't know that I don't feel like I want to do it, but they need me to be there and doing it. And so sometimes the attitude comes along. That's ideal. Like I love that. As difficult as that, I felt like guttural laughing coming from us because it was it brought a joy out of that suffering that I thought was wonderful, but it takes time to get there. If that was day one, I'd be like, this is the worst mistake I've ever made. Right. But because we've done it enough times, I'm realizing, man, this is really affecting my attitude in a wonderful way, Yeah. So for those people that have to do the thing that they don't want to do, I think I recognize that. I know they're doing it for more than just them, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
And it's kind of so.
Yeah.
If I'm hearing you correctly, this is in some way an act in which you get to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
You get to put yourself through something that you may not want to do, but you hope it's an encouragement or something to either yourself to be a better person, thus be able to serve better elsewhere, or the act itself may encourage someone.
Absolutely. And conversely, if you don't do something, it will impact more than just you. Don't kid yourself. When you say no to something, someone's being effective.
So I'd like to keep digging in this a little bit, because I think that from observing you, this is something extremely essential to who you are from my observation. That is, if it's not serving something more than yourself, you immediately become uninterested. I've noticed that you're very uncomfortable allowing things in if it's just for you. And you found this amazing balance where you can recharge and recuperate and find joy from things that are also beneficial to others, And I think it's one of the things that makes you such an extraordinary person and friend. And why? Why do you care so much that everything you do kind of shines a light, right? And even with your workouts, you want those to be like an encouragement to others. And you've shared stories on how it has encouraged other friends to do certain things. Why is that so critical to you?
Yeah, thanks, John. I mean, and also just to be totally honest, like that's a challenge constantly. Like sometimes I knowingly do things that are selfish. It's just a matter of having the honesty to examine it. And like the classic examples, like how much screen time are you given just to you? And it's not, you're not sharing life with somebody else, or, the list goes on and on as far as what activities you're doing. But I think what's really important to me is sort of like this old joke I heard about a guy who went to hell and he's playing golf, right? And there's an onlooker who's trying to ask St. Peter, it's like, it's always St. Peter. And it's like, why? That was my enemy. Why does he get to go and play golf for all of eternity? And then he watches the guy and then he like smacks the ball and the ball is a hole in one. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. This guy's eternity. And then St. Peter just leans over to the guy and he says, yeah, but who's he going to tell? And so the whole idea is if you live a life that's just for you, who are you going to be high-fiving? There's a real joy in being able to go through the journey with somebody. And those are stories you get to share and look back on and laugh. And, those are great conversations to have, I feel like.
Yeah, and there's two paths I wish I could go down, both of them. So, concurrently.
Choose your own adventure. Come on, John.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
I think the first, and it's especially true to choosing to do the hard rights over the easy wrongs or whatever, is you mentioned earlier, I do selfish things. Like, so do I, right? Anyone who's honest with themselves probably would realize that they do. Actually, I'll say that definitively. Everyone does selfish things.
Sure.
Anyone can try and argue with that. I'd love to hear it. But, just to throw that out there, it was kind of fun last time when we did that around fatherhood. But why in the world do you choose to face yourself? Why do you examine what could be a weakness? And what does that do for you? That's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a discussion we've had, right? And that's a journey of becoming an adult. Because our mind, all it wants to do is preserve and be comfortable. It's like its job, don't do that thing. It's almost sets off an alarm. Like you're hurting yourself. This is dangerous. And yet the spirit in you has to overcome that and say, you know what, mind, you need to stop holding us back from accomplishing something really great here. And I didn't ask you if this I didn't say that comfort is a requisite for good things. And oftentimes I think 95% of the time, discomfort has to exist in order to grow.
I love that. We have a poster in the gym we share that says, comfort is a slow death, prefer pain.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
It sounds masochistic, but there's a real deep truth in that.
There is. When you take it past the rah-rah.
Right.
When you look at the reality like, oh, I want to do this thing and it's going to give us this wonderful reward, right?
Yeah.
But it's difficult. Maybe it's lack of difficulty is a slow death.
John, we're living in an age right now where the art of conflict, just talking and having conflict, is dying. Like I think the coasting mentality right now mentally is just don't engage if someone's going to get upset. And like, why is that? Like, I would really challenge that. Like, have more conflicts with people. Mm-hmm. Do it healthy. Do it respectful. But I tell you that everything you learn will be from a conflict on some level, something that challenges the way you thought before. And we just have to have a presumption, a wise presumption. You don't know everything. Mm-hmm. And you're just one conflict away from challenging something that needs to be adjusted. So it's uncomfortable, though. It's very uncomfortable, to your point.
Well, and if we could just string like a plumb line, like a solid thing through a few words we said that I think better paint the picture. It's discomfort, it's difficulty, it's conflict, right? All these things are one and the same. You could almost use them interchangeably. It's uncomfortable to look at myself in the mirror and say, I'm messing this up.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable to stop eating the things you want when they're making you unhealthy. You're in conflict with yourself in those situations. Yep. It's very difficult when you're mad with a friend or your significant other to push past that rage or that anger or that whatever it is that makes you want nothing more than to stay silent and say nothing at that point.
Right.
And work towards a conclusion, that is beneficial.
Yeah.
And I think that through, it's uncomfortable to do the hard thing at work, whatever that work may be, to progress to the next level.
Yeah.
And I think that when you look at those scenarios through the lenses of discomfort, conflict, difficulty, all of a sudden it's easier to connect from anywhere
and normalize it.
and normalize it. Yeah.
Like when it's there and it's uncomfortable, rather than go the path of exit, which is where let's face it, like when you're out there running, like you did this morning and it's like snowing and icy and nasty, your mind will always, at least at one point, there will be a suggestion. Maybe you shouldn't do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
That voice gets quieter over time, but there's always an exit strategy that's available to you. It's very loud if you haven't created that discipline in your life. And so it's easy to go, oh, this is hard, we need to stop. But if you've increased the volume on discipline is our friend, this is part of the process. If it's difficult, it's almost telling that you're doing the right thing versus the opposite where this is a bad idea.
So how in the world do you do that? And how does that help you better serve? Since that's like, how does that help you better love your 4 kids, your wife, right?
Great question. Yeah. We are transferring to others what we are willing to go out and get, so I wouldn't tell my kids to go do something that I am either unwilling or haven't already gone down the road to do. And so coming home with those thoughts and ideas of like, hey, difficulty's our friend. Then when my kids bring it up, like they're seeing their dad, like, am I a comfort dad? Are you seeing me doing whatever's the easiest? Or do you see me intentionally knowing it's difficult? Sometimes you find out it's difficult later. That happens a lot too. It's bigger. This is bigger than I thought it was, and I would have never started the journey, which is a gift because now you're in it. And you're gonna finish it. But not unlike marriage or anything else. Like this is harder than I thought it was. Like yeah, you're gonna get strong through this, right? So going and telling my kids that same thing, when it's right now it's so small. Comparatively speaking, from adult, but a kid, it's everything that they can't figure out math. It's like everything that they're not as good at a sport. It's everything that they're not as that they can't figure out how to read as fast as the other kids. Like watching them go through that difficulty is sort of you see it on their own smaller level, what you're dealing with, and you just have different tasks and different difficulties. It never goes away. And so to be able to kind of, kneel down, look the kid in the eyes, like, I know this is hard, like I'm getting emotional because this is like dad's heart coming out, but it's like, I know this is hard. Like, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to respond to difficulty? Because I don't want you to run away. This is going to be your whole life. So what are we going to do? And I want to help you do that. I'm partnering with you to do that. And teaching that has been a powerful thing. It's incredible to get that back.
We're talking about some pretty high level concepts right now,
right?
To bring it to earth a little bit and to continue into it, because I think we're really working on something, frankly, awesome, right? Like awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
You said that you wouldn't have your children do something that you've not already walked in or are willing to do, right? And when you see them struggle, you're not protecting them from it.
No.
Why?
No. That sounds like somebody might listen and think they're going to have opposing opinions. But let me say, this is just my journey. I know the immutable law of difficulty. Difficulty will always be incumbent upon us. It's how we're going to deal with it. And I'll tell you, the difficulty that will always arise if you try to avoid difficulty is the difficulty of dealing with the fact that you are suspect that you could be greater. And that is a worse difficulty to me to deal with. But it produces no fruit. So why work a garden that does nothing, doesn't produce anything? I'd rather have the difficulty of cultivating something that has lasting impact in my life. If it's going to be difficult, might as well be something, have a good product out of it. So yeah, you're going to say something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking, listening to you, I agree full-heartedly.
Yeah.
Right. We in the Mayo household refuse to protect our children from hardship and difficulty.
Right.
Obviously, to a point. There are things that mama bear, dad are going to step in and not allow. Right. But, it's -3 degrees today. Really small example, super short. I went out, did the workout, the run, all that. My boys, do we have to go take care of the animals? Will you do it today? It's really cold. You absolutely do. Who's going to feed them and care for them if you don't do your duty? Right. They bundled up, they went and did it. That's a difficulty many would maybe not want their children to experience, but it makes them more resilient.
Yes.
And if life is a journey on a road, there's no way to make that road safeguarded and easy.
No.
We can, if I protect my sons from hardship, I will die.
Mm-hmm.
They will then face the hardships of this world unequipped and without my support.
Yep.
As they learn to work through them and thrive.
Yep.
And I think that's what you're touching on with the garden. I don't want to cultivate something. I don't want to pour into something, create something and send it from me and have it die.
Yep.
I want it to thrive despite the difficulty. That goes back to everything we're talking about, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a law you can observe, especially if you have a farm or, it's, if you help a chick open an egg, it will die. It will not live.
Mm-hmm.
Because its first lesson in life is difficulty will produce the muscles by which you will live.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what parents have to do if a chicken gets it, a dumb animal like a chicken gets it, why not us? Where we can allow difficulty to be a teacher with parameters, like you said, be wise with it, but let our kids cry, let our kids fail. I mean, I think a lot of us as parents don't want to do that because it's difficult for us to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be okay with that difficulty where we stay in that and let it be the teacher.
Well, it's messy too.
Yeah.
Right? If you let your 4-year-old cook eggs with supervision,
Yeah.
right? They're probably able to do it.
Yeah.
But you're going to have 3 eggs on the ceiling. But the next time there may only be 1 on the ceiling, right?
Yeah,
and now
yeah.
a 4-year-old's cooking its breakfast with supervision.
Yep.
While you're tending to whatever,
And boy, is he proud of what he produces too.
Oh,
This
man.
messy thing. But what can you do as a dad other than go, wow,
Well,
that's cool. You tried that,
and I think this is directly central.
Yeah.
This is 100% on target with what we're talking about a second ago on why in the world do you wait? You're up at 5. You still get in the car when it's -20 with wind chill, 0 degrees. There's not one of those guys we can go find on the run, and you still pursue these things, right? We've talked about that, and it's the same reason to cultivate something of value that can thrive in difficulty in yourself, so that you can then give that to your children as they learn to do the same.
Yes, that's right.
That seems to be a way to wrap a bow on that in a sense.
Yep. I think that's where we have to just be comfortable in the discomfort. If that's a thing, like let that be a normal thing, is embrace it. In little things like it's cold today. You're not going to die. It's, I don't like taking the garbage out in a cold day, just like the next guy. Right. But it's not like it's going to overwhelm me.
Mm-mm.
I just don't like it. It's uncomfortable.
Well, there's this really fun mentality, like super right field, that just jumped into my mind with this.
Okay.
And it's from like This Is Sparta, the movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we will block out the sun with our arrows. And then the king's like, we'll fight in the shade. Or whatever.
Oh, the 300?
Yeah, 300.
Yeah.
And
right.
It's the same thing. Like,
We'll fight.
we will learn to thrive
Yes.
regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a beautiful reason to push into difficulty and discomfort. Yeah. We will grow, we will create value,
Yep.
and we will learn to thrive. Period.
Yep. And don't wish happiness and comfort on everybody all the time. Sometimes the best thing you could do for even a friend is let them live in the suck, like instead of reducing the level of pain, sometimes they got to have it. They got to go through that, whatever that is that they're trying to overcome in their life. Don't be the guy that reduces pain. Be the one that walks with them through it.
Well, because in reducing, you could, with good intentions, spare them the lesson that could save their life.
Yeah. Otherwise, they're going to have to go and do the lesson again.
or they're stay asleep forever
Right.
on repeat.
Yep. That's right.
And so the second path I want to go on, I saved it.
Oh,
I didn't forget it. Thank goodness.
all right. Here we go.
I typically
Brace
don't-
for impact.
Yeah, I don't have a memory much longer than a goldfish, so that worked well. But it was cued off something you said a minute ago, and that we already touched on, but from a different perspective. You said, when you look at your kids and you ask them, I lead an easy, challenge-free life? Right? You mentioned that when you're like, I wouldn't have you do something I've not done or am unwilling to do. And there is something, you're someone who looks decades in the future with your plans, and then you bring it back to today. So you have a long-sighted, beyond yourself thought process. And the word that came to mind when I heard that, there's three. There's, what example am I setting? What reputation do I have specifically to those closest to me? And what legacy am I creating?
Yeah.
And why? And that's what screamed out at me. And I was hoping that you could maybe play with that a little bit, because I do think from observations, we've not talked about this before, but that seems to be something that you spend some time thinking about. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Give me that first question again so I can hit it.
So bottom line, you essentially, when we're talking, let yourself be an example into your children. You asked, what type of life do I live?
Yep.
That means you put some thought to have the courage to say that to your children.
We have,
what legacy are you creating?
yeah, so the example piece, like this is, we got to be careful with this, because we don't want to make our kids feel like they're nothing in our presence or something, where we're almost showing off what we can accomplish or whatever. Because they can take that, there's an unhealthy there, dad made it so unattainable for me to do anything and just showed me how, all that. But this is the example piece is more like, hey, I don't want you to have equal weight. I just want you to have equal effort in your life. So just as I said before, math is huge for them. It's not huge for me or whatever, that 2 + 2, whatever, those kind of things. We look at it and we laugh. We don't laugh at them. We recognize it's just as difficult as me doing the thing that's difficult for me. So the example piece is just, hey, we're both doing hard things, equal effort, difficult things. If I continue a life where I keep doing the easy things, what example am I leaving to them? And then I tell them to do the difficult things. Like, that's hypocrisy, So the challenge is almost, to me, it gives you the authority to speak into your kid's life, and they know whether or not you're a hypocrite or not. So you have to live it in order to have that.
Awesome. So what's fun is we've just walked through how you're serving your family, right? Through how you're interacting with your children. And that is one dimension of an incredibly full life you lead. So 4 kids, beautiful, driven wife, and then a incredibly robust work life in which you are pursuing all sorts of crazy objectives, both through the different entities you network through in your group. And yet, despite all of that, you wanted to start something like the grit theory and engage in these conversations.
Yep.
Why?
Yep. This is kind of hard, right? We said in the first podcast, you're like, we've never done this before. It's not like we, had all this talent and we had to use it. We're like, we got to create talent to make this happen. It was very much a hill we had to climb, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay, because we're used to that. It's just another thing to have difficulty in. But the heart behind it is we've enjoyed the fruit of walking through some difficult things in our own small little way. Somebody's listening here, it's like they have this hellish story that would just humble us. And to that I go, that's incredible. I want to hear those stories, right? And I can't wait to hear those in the years to come. But we are adding this because it's so important to our core belief of being able to share what we have experienced as good things, things that are worth transferring to those around us.
And I think that's where things tie around to be full circle, right? The desire is to help others.
Yep.
The desire is to share the benefits and the value, right, of these different things. Why? Well, last time we talked about, at least personally, I'm 10 times more motivated to do something I want or desire.
Yeah.
Right? Than to avoid something or whatever else.
Right.
And I think that's, at least from my experience, part of human nature. But when you can change your perspective to say, I want what I do to benefit others, to make a stronger community, stronger relationships, stronger people, right? And to create something positive and good, beneficial. That is also self-gratifying and self-serving. And it's almost like this circle, right? I want to have these conversations first and foremost, at least this is John, because they are so enriching to me.
Yep.
They're so fun, for myself. I mean, just bottom line up front.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
I would do it without the mics, but this gives me an excuse to sit down with you, an excuse to sit down with others.
Yep.
To then be able to take that self-centered desire and to be able to share it with anyone who finds value in this.
Yeah.
That is what takes this from something that's cool, like a coffee time or a glass of whiskey time, to an act of self-serving service to others. Do you think there's something wrong with that?
What's so funny, John, is if we're really honest with ourselves, this is what we're doing right now is very selfish. But if our selfishness leads to helping another person grow and enrich their lives, then hey, that's okay. I'll take that selfishness. I think there's nothing that's truly altruistic. It's just on some level, you have a desire inside of you to accomplish or to help that person, and so that's a self-serving thing. But that's okay because the fruit of that selfishness is shared with other people.
Yeah, the benefit of it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a strange way. It sounds bad to say, yeah, I do selfish things. Well, I do selfish things because I want to repeat them. But I just want to make sure it's a noble, selfish pursuit, right?
Yeah, something that still can help someone else as it's serving me as well.
Right.
And the reason I'm pulling on this, right?
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Well, to me, I think it grounds it in reality, right? Like if I had no idea about any of these types of topics and I listened to this for the first time, I would feel, and I'm just going through my own stuff, I don't think I could connect to a lot of this. It's like, I'm trying just to survive. I can't think about helping someone else, right? And I think this grounds it in, that's okay. What can you do that's going to make you better so that by nature of being better, you have more to be able to provide in existence, right? And at some point, the transformation will go from these things I'm doing to survive, to care for myself, to get stronger, to get better. I'm going to have an abundance that can start to positively affect those around me. And it starts with the choices, the mentalities, all that stuff. But I think it ties the start point to some of the fun things that we're talking about that I think and hope are encouraging and are exciting, right? But it's like, yeah, it's okay, that right now, the only reason I want to work out is because I don't want to look a certain way or have a certain health issue. Because at some point, if you keep making healthy choices to become healthy, your energy will also be improved. You have a higher likelihood of living longer. What are the outputs of that new you going to be? You're going to continue more than likely looking for ways to pour yourself out.
Yeah. Why the heck live longer if you're not going to do something with it? Right. It's just like, hurry up and die if that's, your goal. But if you're trying to live longer, you're making these decisions to do so, it ought to be because you want to have more time to invest in people. That's a noble pursuit.
I think it grows to that.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it.
Yep.
Right? Like at least the thing I just want to touch on for us is I think that is what it can become.
Yes.
It can start with, I just want to have a certain level of health or look a certain way or be able to do a certain thing. Right?
Right.
But if you keep doing that, the natural progression, it seems, is to, how can this now benefit my loved one? How can this now benefit this person I care about or want to help or encourage the stranger, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes altruistic. And it can do that a lot earlier than I think some may some may think. So I just thought that might tie it in a little bit of,
Yeah. I like that. I think that's a great, yeah, you've now made it, you've made it prettier than what it starts to be. You know, it's so funny. Yeah, 'cause these are such like almost just dirty beginnings. Like, oh, that's stupid. That's why you started it. It's like, yeah, but you know, I grew up.
Yeah.
I I learned some things along this journey, right?
Well, it's important to show the journey, because otherwise it just gets lost in the crowds, right?
Yeah.
It's less attainable.
Yep.
And I know I've been so overwhelmed by my friends and family and the people who I have loose connections with who have reached out from our first episode. And they think it's been so, rejuvenating, things like that. Just, it's been genuine, right? And
yeah,
I think that's one of the things that we cling to, right? It's like, yeah, this is where we are, and it sounds cool, and it may be shiny right now, but it was born out of mud and blood. It was terribly ugly, and there are still times that we walk through things that are disgustingly bad.
Yeah. Oh, all the way. And and I want to echo that too, John. Just that gratitude for those around us, because that's, man, that what amazing currency that is in our life. That, hey, we're going to try this thing, and this is going to be difficult. And then the people I've said, the things I've read, I'm like, man, these people are like, these aren't just like little compliments or even corrections, or whatever you want to call them. They're just people that they really do, on some level, they're expressing care and love for what you're trying to accomplish. It's cool. It's like they're joining you on the run, you know, hey, you can do it. You can do it. This is hard. You can do it. Hey, you know, I love it.
Oh, and love it. To what you just said, like, it's like they're joining one of us on a run or something.
Yeah.
That's what this is. It's a journey.
Absolutely.
These conversations are journey, and our hope is to journey with others, right? We want to go on this adventure with anyone who would care to journey with us, right?
Yeah.
Come on, let's do it, right?
Yeah.
And it was cool you said that, because I do think that's central to our desire. It's like the reason we went through all this effort, the reason we were ripping our hair out before we recorded this, and to try and improve the audio for everyone, was because we want it to be an invitation for others to strive to climb, to become indomitable, to be extraordinary, to become waymakers, right?
Yes.
And with that, you have to have targets. So mud and blood, right? I'm curious, when is the most recent time that you were near quitting on something significantly important in your life? And why did you not?
Yeah. I've had to deal with all kinds of stuff. I mean, there are times in my work, there are times in my parenting where I want to disengage. There are certainly times in my marriage. And it's not, there's a voice, but it's not one I take seriously, of quitting on any of those things. Right. But it is absolutely there. Like, you could quit. You could stop lifting this thing that's killing you. Right. And if I listen to that and choose what's comfortable, there'll be consequence that is far greater than the difficulty of going through it. And so, yeah, I've come to, the voice has gotten too loud at times in some of those areas, and I'm going, can I do this? And there's something so much bigger than me that needs to be my teacher so I can get through it. And so, yeah, I'm happy to say I haven't quit on anything that is truly epically important to me. But to answer your question, I think there have been times when I've almost quit. And then when you almost quit at something, and you've gone down this journey, even with like personal injury with stuff too, you have to fight back. You have to decide, I can't, okay, if I keep doing what I have been doing, I'm going to continue to think I got to quit at this.
Yeah.
But if I let a new voice in, like, okay, let's use a physical, I need someone to speak into this who's been down this road. They could tell me how to get healed up, to get stronger here. I need other people who have almost failed at this, and they could tell me how they got through it. I need people to encourage me what it looks like. Like, hey, this is what when you get healthy, this is what it's going to look like. And that also, like, oh man, that's what I want. I really want that. If you quit, you won't ever get it though.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of things just change your vector, and you can go a little further.
It reminds me of what we talked about the quote last time. If you want to go fast, go alone.
Yeah.
If you want to go far, go together.
Yes.
Right. It's an African proverb, and it's so true that where one may fall down, two can stand up. And
yeah,
the community you surround yourself.
Yep.
Right. One more cliche thing: birds of a feather flock together. The people you surround yourself, the influences you seek out, can make or break that. I'm hanging on by a nail, about to fail something important to me.
You cannot even entertain a second with someone who's a quitter when you're about to quit yourself. That's
because they'll welcome you.
They will say, "Oh, of course you're feeling bad. Oh, man.
Stop.
Yeah, you should stop, man. Of course that's because they're accustomed to quitting, and you just can't hang out with those people. Really, I don't like hanging out with those people anyway, but especially when you're injured
and weak. Not in like a week, like when you're at a place without your strength, right?
Right.
Like it's late, you're tired, you're hungry, you're wet, you're cold.
That is such a lucid decision you have to make, though.
Mm-hmm.
If the darkness is around you, have someone help you come to that conclusion. But yeah, sometimes you just need the light of a friend who doesn't quit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Like I even had the physical one last week, right?
Yeah.
Where like it was bad, but it was a combination of the community that's around, right? And a lot of contemplation, going to battle with myself and my maker and all those things, right? And realizing what the outcome needed to be.
Mm.
And now we're kind of celebrating the benefits of not having quit this last week.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Caught a second wind of sorts, right?
Yeah, the injuries are healing.
Yeah.
Things are improving. So it's interesting because the night always appears to be darkest before the dawn. And it seems to me that when we experience the moments of near quit and we persevere, it's like the dawn, the sun starts to rise.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't think I could make it through today. And now I'm starting to see the light, and now it's daytime again.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful day. It's like this exciting new wind, like you said.
Absolutely. Wind. And you can't experience that unless you go through that, as you say, the darkest of night. Yeah. And what and all that is the greatest amount of difficulty you can handle.
So that's the perfect segue to a quote from you last week. All right.
It's okay if you do it. If I do it, it's, narcissistic or pretentious or something. But go ahead. Yeah.
I can quote anyone I want as long as it's not myself.
Aaron Robinson says.
Yes. Yeah. So we're plodding along.
Yeah.
I'm deep in my mind because of some injuries and stuff, right? This is before turning that corner, right? And we're pushing into a strong headwind. It's cool. And this is where it's so not about the physical, right? It's the mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, benefits of doing these challenging things that allow us to pour into others more, right? And here's an example. You're out there and you poured into me, and it was just this fun little refreshing reminder of, you said good. I was like, man, I'm hurting. We have to adjust a little bit so I don't like tear this ligament. If you don't mind, you're like, no, that's fine. And we're plodding along, and you asked how I was doing. I was like, we're pushing, but I'm in pain. This is hard. And you said, good. That means you actually set a goal, John, that's hard enough to push you to your limit. Good. Why in the world do you think that's good? And it was awesome. So
that's fun. Oh, I'm glad that came out. It's so funny. Some of those things that come out of you when I wouldn't just say that anyway. But it's when the need arises out of a friend, sometimes you dig deep.
Yeah.
What am I going to say to him? Whatever. But no, I'm glad that encouraged you. But because I know the other side of difficulty is joy.
Yeah.
Right. You know that.
Yep.
You may not want to tell yourself that when you're going through it because, the exit voice is coming up, right? Like, get out of here. This is hard. But the person who's healthy, who's next to you, who's caught their breath, So you're going to be fine, man. You're going to I know you can do this. I believe in you. And if you don't believe in you, I'm going to believe in you. Like, borrow my belief. But I want you to have a hard time. If you're doing something easy for you, like, what good is that? Why would I encourage you to do easy things?
Yeah.
As a friend.
And that's where difficulty is opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Like,
that's, John, if you want to define a good friend, ask yourself, do your friends make you do difficult things? Do they challenge you? Because if they don't, I'd question whether that's really a good friend.
Like positive, difficult things.
Yeah. If they're just enabling you to do the same thing all over and over again until eternity, I don't know. Those are the kind of friends I want to keep. But
yeah, let's journey forward together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel compelled to do a quick 30-minute toss out on the friendship thing.
Yeah.
I've received, it's actually been really cool, a lot of calls. Last time we talked about, like the top 5 or whatever, and watering the lawn.
Oh, the top 5 friends.
Like the friends who have kept,
yes,
who have naturally become close, right? Well, I've had, and then we very quickly touched on, well, then there's also those friends who like are permanently in that place that life has separated you for now, but you pick up the phone, you're picking right back up.
Yep.
And it's only a matter of current life circumstances and typically geographic like dislocation that keep us from being close on a more intimate daily basis.
Right.
But we pick up the phone, we're good to go. We walked through that really quickly. Well, I've had quite a few friends in that category who I've not spoken to in a couple months call and be like, hey, I'm here watering the lawn, guy. or so am I number 6? It's been hilarious. It's been nice because I've gotten to hear from a bunch of dudes. I was like, no, you were in, do you remember that one little statement where I was like, you and I were talking about that group, you just picked the phone up? And they're like, no, I don't remember that. I was like, oh, well, in my mind, you were there. But I'm glad you called and felt convicted and bad for not talking to me for a month.
I love it. That didn't make it easy on him at all. I love it.
Yeah. So
we John, I would say to one of the lessons we got to learn as men and women both. When we're going through a difficult thing, do not be ashamed of it. Embrace it as your friend. Be evangelistic about it. Hey, I'm going through this really difficult thing, and this is what I'm doing to go through that difficulty.
So does that mean like be inspirational about it, motivate people, walk with them?
Yeah, if I see one more smiling, happy family picture, that threat, what's going on in between those smiles? That's life. Most of life is pretty hard. It leads to joy. But I would just love, I love the kind of friendship that says, "Hey, I'm going through marriage counseling right now. It's really hard," and that's so hard to say anyway. Like, "Ooh, counseling. What's wrong with you? Whatever. You guys, is your marriage going to fall apart?" It's like, no, because I'm facing the challenge, and the friend should say, the conversation should be, "I'm going to counseling," and the friend says, "Good," just like you said, "Good. I'm glad you're fighting for something and going through a difficult time."
And that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point, I think, from observing you. So this is a question.
Yeah.
The reason you want to do this podcast, the reason you want to be an example to your children and a co-adventurer with your friends is because you want to be able to encourage them through the bad by saying, "Good, this is an opportunity."
Yep.
And then have that reciprocated as necessary also.
Yep. Absolutely. I need it. That's the selfish thing. I need it. Altruistically, I want other people to have it too.
Yeah. And that's the point of strengthening each other, right? Mm-hmm. You mentioned what's going between those smiles. Well, if you're friends with someone and you know the chaos that's behind that picture and you're not doing anything as their friend to help them face that and fix it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
You're missing the opportunity, especially because that means you're cultivating relationships that if you're messed up, they're not going to do it for you more than likely.
Right.
What an opportunity.
Ooh, that's a horrible thing to hear.
Right.
Like for someone out there, or, even just to be sober minded about it. Like, am I that guy? Am I doing that?
Well, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And a minute ago, you had said, you're talking about looking for the out, right? When it's difficult, and that's been a thread of this conversation. Like when it's difficult, we're going to look for the outs. And what's interesting is how else do you equip yourself? Because you equip yourself, one, with the people you surround yourself with, but given time, your mind and body will outmaneuver your will to do the hard right thing every single time. Right? So how do you, when you're alone, safeguard from that?
We work out early in the morning because I'm concerned I won't do it at 5:00. Right? You got to put first things first. You got to start your day. You got to not hit the snooze alarm 3 times. You got to start right away with, I'm choosing today to do difficult things, to make decisions that I know will lead to healthy outcomes. And I know they will, and I'm encouraged by that. I know if I make this decision, it will have consequence in my life, a healthy consequence. And conversely, if I say no, I'm going to have to deal with the unhealthy consequence.
So if I'm hearing you correctly,
Yeah.
You're saying you stop thinking in the moments of execution. I'm going to do it so early that I just have to do it before I think myself out of it.
I just got to go now. Yeah, exactly. Because that's it, right?
Yeah.
The voice throughout the day gets louder. You get. There's more and more excuses. But man, in the morning, it's hard to make those excuses. And it's just like, as long as you get out of bed, you got to do that. Get up. So, all right, I'm up. Let's go do it.
And that's another area too. Like, if you lay in bed and think about getting up,
no,
you will lose that
Don't
fight.
Do that.
Right?
Don't have a conversation with your mind. It's like
sometimes you have to silence yourself, and it's interesting because in the same way you pick your friends, you have to pick your voice you allow to speak and when in your own mind. Like,
right.
It is 4:30 in the morning or 5 or 6 or whatever's hard for you, and like, you're just laying there like, oh, I'll just lay here for 5 more minutes. No, you've lost because. No. You may get up in 5 minutes, but it's probably going to be in 3 hours.
Right.
So just get up.
Of course it's difficult.
Yeah.
Of course this is hard to get up at this time. Good.
Yeah. And
get up.
It's like I quite literally have to think like, don't think. As I'm getting up, like moving, like the alarm's okay, just move, just get out of the room. All right, just get to the other room. Just get far enough away from the bed that I can't think an excuse into how I can reprioritize tasks to get back in.
Yes. My wife, I don't know if she still does this, but for a time she'd put the phone across the room. Yeah. The alarm phone across the room. I was like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Got to get up to turn it off. Set it, make it easy. That's another conversation you could say. Make it easy. If you want to repeat something, just make it easy to repeat it.
So what's that look like?
Yeah, and that's an example of just my wife. It's like it's easy to walk across a room to turn off an alarm if you want the sound to turn off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you made it easy, but now you're up. You've kind of tricked yourself into winning. You want to eat better. Don't buy chips and put them in the pantry. Keep them at the store where you won't drive to go get them, right? Having a great friend makes it more difficult to do the bad things. And it makes it easier to do the good things.
So lower or raise the barrier depending on what you need. Yeah. So for example, raise the barrier to get the chips. Keep them at the store. Yeah. Lower the barrier of difficulty to get out of bed.
Yep.
Put the phone on the other side of the room.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Honestly, I do the same thing.
That's all it is. Yeah, you don't have to make it max difficulty. It's going to be difficult on some level, but you don't have to make it hard on yourself. Like, why do that to yourself? These giant lists of resolutions people give. Don't do that to yourself. Like, you're not going to do it. Instead, why don't you create a smaller list of things that you'll change your habits to make it easier on yourself in order to accomplish that.
Well, awesome. I feel like we've been able to thoroughly cover a lot of ground, and I'm curious, as we transition to closing out today's time together, what goal or hope do you have for this venture being, the grit theory over the coming year?
Man, it's already starting to happen, John. Like when you get some feedback from people saying, "Hey, this is what I specifically heard that changed my mindset for the day," that's a win, right? Mm-hmm. It makes me feel like we're fighting with people. like we're part of their difficulty. And I think that's great. I just feel like a friend in that moment. To get more and more of those, that's going to be a lot of fun. And in a conversational way where they said, hey, what about this? Or, and I'm reading and go, oh, wow, that affects me. That's just rich wisdom growing life. So in that sense, it is already kind of happening. I'm not looking down there. Like, I'm happy about today.
Yeah.
This is great. It'll be bigger and more of it in the future, I'm sure.
So that was a great answer and also a complete non-answer at the same time.
Do you want a more specific metric on that, or?
Well, because I do agree. I'm blown away, humbled, in shock still at how many people have reached out on this. Right? It's really been humbling, and I've shared every single one of them with you. So it's been cool. It's just been so bizarre. I feel like I'm in a dream somewhere. But that being said, yeah, what do you want to do in a year? We just talked about crazy goals.
Yeah.
What?
It'd be fun. I'm hoping to get some pretty incredible stories. I think there's people out there I haven't met yet. That's what I'm really looking forward to, because I know the stories of my own friendships, more or less. But I know there's just some things that are just going to level us. Like, whoa, such incredible overcoming that's out there. Somebody out there is listening right now. It's like they got a burning story in them they want to share with everybody here. Like, I want to meet those people, and I want them to affect my next 40 years, whatever I get.
I agree with you. I think there's going to be quite a few of these that it's you and me talking through different topics or what have you.
Yeah.
But I am so excited to use this as a platform to bring on and honor and hear other people's stories and share them and hear them for myself. It's going to be amazing.
We have too much dishonor out there happening. And I would really like to elevate those people who just have not gotten the fair airtime that they need to get.
For some truly inspirational stories of how they made a way through insurmountable odds.
Yep.
Right? And are winning.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. How about we end it with that?
I don't want to mess it up, so let's do it.
Yeah. Well, take care, everyone. Thank you for listening in.
Thank you, guys.
That was another episode of The Grit Theory. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and let us know. If you did not like what you heard, keep it to yourself.
We hope that you got at least a few nuggets that you want to share. We look forward to seeing your comments below. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Take care.